With much respect and thank you and gratitude, let's welcome Michael Allison to the stage.
Come on, get up, everybody. Come on, get up. Let's get some energy going this morning. Come on, everybody. Stand to your feet. How's everybody doing this afternoon? We doing good? We doing good? Hey, welcome to the 2025 Social Media Conference this weekend, man. I'm happy to be here, coming all the way from West Palm Beach, Florida. Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate that. Before I get started, I got two things. I want to check the energy. Everybody just came back from lunch, right? I want to check the energy inside of the room, all right? I want everybody all the way in Cleveland, and Dayton, and Akron to hear everybody inside this room. So as you stated before, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, served for 8 years. We have this thing where we say oorah, kind of like where we have that sense of camaraderie, where we have that little sense of motivation. If I could get the loudest oorah from this audience inside of this room on the count of three, so everybody can hear you. Let everybody back in West Palm Beach hear you guys. On the count of three, let me get your loudest oorah. 1, 2, 3, oorah! There we go. Come on, man, I need this energy, man. You guys doing good? Awesome. Number 2 is this. I get the opportunity to share my life with you. I get to share my stories with you through storytelling. And that's something that I had to discover when I became a speaker, an author, and just get into the social media business. I used to be someone that was scared, intimidated, shy, and an introvert. And I never wanted to post anything on social media. So I used to post things on social media. If I didn't get the likes, if I didn't get the views, I would delete it. I would remove it because I was scared of what people would say. And then I started realizing if I shared my life story, if I started making that connection, if I started sharing my passion and my purpose, this is how I start connecting with my clients. So before I get started here, do I have your permission to be open, to be vulnerable, and to be transparent with you guys this afternoon? Thank you guys so much for that. So we know that the social media world is wild, right? And we know that there's in the world of transactional content, AI, ChatGPT, you name it, it could get pretty crazy. And as social media ambassadors, content creators, marketers, you're expected to juggle flamethrowers. You're expected to walk around and do things blindfolded, and still expected to show up on social media, on marketing, smiling, happy as if nothing ever happened. But behind it all, behind all of technology, there's human beings behind it. There's a connection that we have to start connecting with our customers, with our audience. And that's what people are looking for behind the scenes. But how do we do that? We have to be authentic. We have to be real. We have to share our stories. I want to take you guys back to my time of how I got into storytelling. But what I want you to do is think about this. You're going to get to 2025 at the end of this year in December, and you're going to look at all of the goals that you've planned for this year. And you're going to ask yourself, did I meet all my goals every quarter? Did I accomplish everything that I set out to do? And if you get to the end of 2025 and you have in your thought, in your mind, you're sitting with your team and you said, I coulda, I shoulda, I woulda, and I didn't do that, then we have a problem. We're going to talk about what anchors my topic of breaking the bottle. When I'm talking about breaking the bottle, I'm talking about the metaphor of some of the things that keep us from getting to our final success. I'm talking about some of the physical things, the mental things, and the emotional things. Some of the things that's tied to imposter syndrome, our limiting beliefs that gets us to our peak performance. When I was getting ready to decide to join the military, it was a struggle for me. I played high school football, and I was playing football my senior year. I tear my ACL and my MCL, and had the opportunity to go to University of Wisconsin to play football. Scholarship got taken away. So I walk outside of the chow hall, and there's Staff Sergeant Noda, a United States Marine Corps recruiter. And he sees me, and he makes a beeline over to me, and he comes over to me and says, come here, man, let me talk to you for a minute. He must have seen the sad puppy dog look on my face. And he comes and starts talking to me and says, have you ever thought about joining the Marine Corps? I said, no, not really. I never heard anything about it. You know, I just like see commercials on TV. So he says, I have an opportunity for you where you could share this with your parents and you could potentially change your life. So I said, all right, cool, no problem. So I take that information to mom. What do you think my mom and dad said? They said, hell no. Hell no. You're not going to join the military. My parents grew up during the time frame of seeing what Desert Storm was like, and they knew what that was like, and they did not want their kid to see anything like that. So I go back to Staff Sergeant Noah and I tell them, I said, look, they said, no, man, I don't think this is going to fly. He said, let me talk to your mom and dad. He talks to my mom and dad, and he convinces them. And all of a sudden, 4 o'clock in the morning, they knock on my door and pick me up. They take me to Miami. I get sworn in. I leave from Miami all the way to Parris Island, South Carolina. They pick us up in this white bus in the middle of the night. We come to the gates and tell everybody, put your heads down. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, I've never experienced anything like this before. We get to the barracks, and the drill instructor gets on the bus. And all of a sudden, he's like, get off of my bus, get off of my bus! I'm like, man, a drill instructor is here yelling at me. My football coach don't yell at me like this. My mom and dad don't even yell at me like this. What the hell did I just sign up for? The recruiter told me all of the good things about the Marine Corps, none of the bad stuff. I go through boot camp for the first month, and all of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell did I sign up for? We go through this entire HR process. We get 30 seconds to call our mom. Hey, I made it. Goodbye. That's it. And we go through this entire HR process. One of the worst HR processes I've ever seen in my life. We get a chance to cut our hair, get our issued gear, and all these things, but now you're treated like crap. And what I realized was the Marine Corps is trying to teach us something of how to break us down before they could build us back up. And while I'm there, I fall into this pity of feeling sorry for myself. And sometimes I could find out that when you push to your limits with some of these things, you really get to discover who you are. So at that particular time, I write my mom a letter. Yes, people did write a letter back in 1999. I know ChatGPT is changing things now, but back then I had to write a letter to my mom. I wrote this letter to my mom, and I said, look, I don't know what I just signed up for. I'm here, and they're treating us like crap, and I want to come back home. And in this moment, my mom writes me a letter back. And when she writes me this letter back, she says, your grandfather came from Cuba on a boat, and he made all of these sacrifices for you. Me and your dad have been through some of the worst circumstances, some of the worst situations in life that taught us how to be resilient. You have everything inside of you to get to completing boot camp. You have everything inside of you. There's no need to complain. And as I was going through this and I was reading this, it's allowed me to put things into perspective. And that's some of the things that we have to start looking at. Once I started doing this, this is how it allowed me to have this mindset or this perspective shift for me. And this is when I started thinking about how I could start breaking the bottle and shattering limiting beliefs and shatter things that's holding me back. So this afternoon, I'm going to talk to you how we could break the bottle through a framework. It's called the 3 Ds: decision, direction, and destination. And you'll follow that. It's a pretty simple concept. But what it allowed me to do is work with, I apply this to myself, and I apply this with clients that I work with too as well, as it's very simple to follow. But following this process, it has allowed me to gain some different levels of success in my life, just humbly speaking and saying that. For myself, I had a chance to go through the Marine Corps, serve 8 years. Once I had a chance to do that, I went to Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., worked on the Colin Powell leadership for close to 12 years. From there, I had a chance to write my own book, become a TEDx speaker. Then I bought a franchise, and I started running a construction company. We made the Inc. 5000. From that contract that we had a chance to work on the TV show Military Makeover. Anybody ever heard of that TV show? It was with Montel Williams, which is a former veteran too as well. And while I was on the show, I was asking him, I said, hey man, you've had all of this success with all of these things that you've built, all of these things that you've created. How were you able to do some of these things? How were you able to get your show on TV? And I realized what he was telling me was he had a core value. He had a mission. He had a purpose that he was trying to execute and things that he believed in. For us as content managers and social media marketers, we got to have something that's going to connect with our audience too as well. He followed up and asked me, said, Michael, you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you're at now today to even be on this TV show with us. And I told him it was simple. I said I had to break the bottle too as well. When I talk about break the bottle now, we're not talking about beer bottles from last night. We're not talking about champagne bottles, none of those crazy things. It's simply the metaphor of applying this concept and this principle. And when I'm doing that, I thought about what are some of the things and obstacles in my life that I had to get through. And I thought about it. Was it grief? Was it guilt? Was it depression? Was it PTSD? Was it fear? Was it doubt? Some of these things many of us struggle with, and it hinders us from posting, creating content, getting in front of a camera, you name it. Some of these things actually hindered us and keeps us bottled in. How many of us could identify with some of these things that we see on the screen? Many of us. And that's caused some of the problems, especially for me at that time. I had a lot of shame in my life. I had a lot of grief in my life. I had a lot of guilt. I could not show up on social media and tell anybody about my life, where I'm from, what I did. No. I never thought that was going to create that connection for me, especially someone that didn't want to be judged, didn't want to be ridiculed, didn't want to be criticized. I didn't like that. So I didn't want to have that as I was getting ready to get into this particular space. And I found out that having this mindset, it created a limiting belief for myself. So the other side of that too was this. We bottle in so many of these things, but it also hinders something else. It blocks us from our joy. It blocks us from our happiness. It blocks us from our peace of mind. And when we get ready to show up, we don't show up as our true, authentic self. I believe that in order for us to start infusing our social media strategy with our growth, with our heart, with our soul, and our passion, we're going to have to do this here, guys. We're going to have to break the pattern. Look to your neighbors and say, break the pattern. Come on, guys, a little bit louder. Look to your neighbors and say, break the pattern. Thank you, thank you. The first step in this process is decision. You can write this down as you guys are taking notes. Number one is this. We got to identify what it is. Identify what is it that we're bottling in. What is it that we're truly keeping inside and keeping us from actually posting, sharing, working with our clients? What is it? Number two is this. We got to clarify what it is. And when I say clarify it, it's not as simple as that. But what is at the core surface of what is it that we need to truly clarify? Is it something from my childhood, something from my boss, from my husband, from my wife, from my friend? Did somebody tell me that you suck at this, so you should not post? Some of those things is causing us to. Did our parents tell us you're a horrible kid? Nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to look at you. Nobody wants to hear you. These are some of the things that actually truly affects us. And subconsciously inside of our minds, we don't even think about this, and we don't even post or share anything on social media. Approximately about 3,500 decisions are made inside of our head, consciously and subconsciously, whether we think about that or not. And as we're going through our daily process, these are things that are affecting us on a daily basis in our business, in our organizations. The next piece to that is that we have to verify it. Is there any truth to this? Are there any lies to this? And let's see if we can confirm some of these things and debunk some of these things that is actually not true. How we do that? When you start identifying some of these things, you got to start creating real connections. For me, I had to go back and start digging deeper into my life story and identifying what it was that was keeping me back for me to actually break the bottle or shatter some of these things that was holding me back. My story was this. I was born in Jamaica, and at 5 years old, we go through a flood. And as we're going through this flood, we wake up in the morning, we see all the things floating inside of our house. My mom and dad gets the ladder and sits us on the roof of our house, left us homeless. From there, 2 years later, we go through Hurricane Gilbert. Category 5 hurricane kills over 300 people. Blew off the house that my mom and dad just rebuilt. They lost everything. And at this particular time, there's no saving your documents. All these things that we talk about, we're saving now. And they had to rebuild. But it's really taught me how you could be resilient. And from them doing that, I saw them started making sacrifices. They said, we can't live like this anymore. So they made a decision, a very tough decision. They went to New York to work very odd-end jobs, and they left me and my siblings in Jamaica with my grandparents. Shortly after that, they started making some money. They said for us to come to America. We come to Miami, Florida. When I talk about Miami, Florida, I'm talking about South Beach, Key West, and all that. We went to Overtown, which is the projects of the projects and the ghettos of the ghettos. And we go there to go live with my aunt. My aunt already has 4 kids. She has her mom living there, and she has her husband living there at this house. They pick us up at the airport, and they bring us to their house. It's a 3-bedroom house. Grandma's in one room, husband and wife is in one room, and the kids are in another room. The 4 kids are sleeping on bunk beds, and me and my siblings are now sleeping on the floor. The first night that I come to America, my 14-year-old cousin tries to take my innocence away from me. That rocked me. That took me and put me back into a bottle, especially at 7 years old, a kid that never experienced anything like this in his life. Shortly after that, mom and dad comes to town, and then they move us to a town called Little Haiti. as we're there in Little Haiti, we don't come from much, so my mom goes to McCory's, which is kind of like your Payless stores, and then she goes and buys us some clothes. She buys me a pair of shoes that's orange and neon fluorescent, and it said nice on the side of it, N-I-C-E. The next thing she does, she goes to the flea market, and she buys me a pair of tights. At this particular time, I was a very chubby kid. Imagine me with a pair of purple tights in school, in elementary. Yo, I got picked on so much, it's not even funny. I got into fights every single day. To this day, I tell my mom, you're the reason why I was getting bullied in school. You're the reason why everybody was always fighting on me and picking on me. With that being said, guys, childhood was very rough. I was trying to find my space, and then shortly after that, the Boy Scouts come to school. They say, hey, the Boy Scouts is in town. Would you want to be a part of the Boy Scouts? I go to mom and dad. I say, hey, can I join? They say, sure, you can join the Boy Scouts. So I joined the Boy Scouts. I'm in it for a couple months. We have a trip to go to Washington, D.C. In school, we learn about the White House, the monuments, all of those cool things. I found myself in Washington, D.C. And on our last day on this trip, we come back to our hotel. It's 12 boys. Half of the boys go to one room. The other half goes to the other room. We cycle through and take our showers. I come out of the shower, and I see 5 boys on the wall naked. I was told to get onto that wall, too, as well. I experienced something in my life that no kid should ever experience in their life. This immediately shut me down. And at this particular time, we're poor. We don't have anything. We can't fight this. My mom immediately takes me out of the Boy Scouts. And I go on to live a pretty decent childhood life after that, but in regards to a kid to have a normal childhood, to want to play, want to have fun, do any of those things, I couldn't even imagine to know what that was. And this was my story, but I could have never shared that with you, not until I started finding out. People started coming up to me, Michael, thank you for sharing that story. My son is going through that. My husband went through that. My brother went through that. And all of a sudden, I realized me being vulnerable, me being transparent, is helping somebody have their own breakthrough, have their transformation. And that's when I started posting things like that on social media. That's when I started sharing my story and realizing that I'm making an impact through my story and some of my decision-making process through that. For you, what is that one decision that is holding you back to start connecting with your customer? What is that one decision that you can start making to start making an impact within your business? For you, you got to start thinking about that and start writing that down. Your one fearless moment of making an impact. Your one fearless moment of changing somebody's life. But what is it that you're going to do to help change somebody's life? For me, like I mentioned to you, for me to see just a real transformation, I had to start participating in my own rescue. I call this doing skunk work. Sometimes it's real dirty work. You're going to have to dig deeper with some of those things you got to identify, clarify, and verify for yourself. And that's when you get opportunity to go to step 2, the direction. If you would with me, say with your neighbors, choose the path. Step 2 is direction. Direction goes as this. We got to plan, we got to build, and then we got to start navigating. In the Marine Corps, we always talk about piss poor planning creates piss poor performance. If you do not plan, you won't have a blueprint, you won't have a map, you will not know how to navigate things, especially when things come at you at various different ways. I've always questioned why I've always been faced with some of these tough situations and tough things in my life, never knew what it was going to build up to for me to get a chance to tell my life story. As I was going through this process and started navigating the direction of my life where it was going, I realized that joining the Marine Corps has changed lots of things for me. For you guys, I want you to think about this. With your customers, and you're trying to go in the direction of where you're trying to take your business, how does your content align with your values? What are your missions? What is your vision? And what is your life experiences that you could use to connect with your customers? This is what me and Montel was talking about, how he started finding his clients and his customers. This is the same concept that I apply in my business and work with customers too as well. When you start finding that alignment, people will start coming to. We've heard it all here today. Your tribe, your niche, people will start finding the content and the products and the services that you're selling when you start aligning these things. When people start believing and trusting in what you're creating for them, that's going to help change their lives too as well. For my start, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was in Japan. And then right after 9/11 hit, I'm thinking to myself, what's next for my life? What is going to happen next? I come back from Japan, I'm in California. And we're there training, and Captain Venning comes up and tells us, boys, it's our turn to go to Fallujah, Iraq. And as I'm there, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is about to take place? This is the same thing, this is the same fear that my mom and dad had, and I'm about to go into combat. We started planning and planning and training and training. Started preparing and building and building. From there, we left from California to Seattle, from Seattle to Canada, from Canada to Germany, from Germany to Kuwait. And as we got to Kuwait, I had the opportunity to meet with my troops. And we're there for 2 weeks, just planning and preparing. But what this taught me to do as a leader was to get a chance to know my team, especially the guys that was about to go into combat with. For you, do you know your customers? Do you know your clients? Do you know who's supposed to follow you, who's not supposed to follow you? Do you know the product and service that they're looking for? Have you asked those questions? I took those 2 weeks and I got a chance to know Castanelli, Lowe, Marifian, every single person that was in my platoon, to know what makes them tick, what will help them throughout our situation, as we always worry about who's got my six. As we're there, it took me about a couple days, but now I had a chance to learn everybody that was within my platoon. Shortly after that, we're told we go into Fallujah. 120 tanks, Hummers. I drove these AAVs here, so you can see where I'm sitting at the top of the turret. And we're driving these tanks all the way into Fallujah. Over 300 miles, 110 degrees, give or take. As we get there in the middle of the night, we get RPGs and we hear, incoming! Boom, 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 boom. Everybody runs for cover. But nobody frantically or was scared or anything as we planned for this. We knew that this was something that could potentially happen. Following that, we go out on our first mission. I'm there with my gunnery sergeant. And as we're there, we're waiting for 12 hours, and nothing happens. Sometimes nothing will happen in your business, but all of a sudden, something clicks. In the middle of the night, 2 RPGs shoots over us. Boom, boom. And they land behind us. You can feel the missiles, you can feel the heat just landing behind us. Immediately, we traversed our weapon and started shooting every single thing that was in our way. We didn't think about it. We didn't question it. We didn't worry about any of those things. When you're planning and you're building, you automatically respond. When you're creating things, you automatically have things in place. When you have your SOPs, your business plan, your business canvas, what is it that we need to have in place to make sure things are automatic for us? What are our contingency plans? Sometimes you got to look at your calendar. Does your calendar align with what I'm supposed to be doing and executing? Following that, my gunnery sergeant gets injured. And at 23 years old, my first time in combat, my gunnery sergeant leaves. He's our leader. We have other senior leaders on our team that could come and take over first section. My lieutenant says, no, Sergeant Allison, you're going to take the lead of first section. We have other sergeants, we have the other staff sergeant that has already been to combat. And I'm wondering, why did they choose me? And then I talked to Lieutenant Bidwell, and he said, Sergeant Allison, you know every single person that's in first section. You already know how to make them operate, you know how to make them move, you know how to do things and get things executed. It's important, what I'm telling you in regards to know your customer, know your audience. You start building that trust, that lightness within your company and within your organization. Shortly after that, I'm leading first section. I'm talking to the eye in the sky, which is our drones. I'm talking to our colonels. I'm talking to our generals on a regular daily basis for different missions that we're on. The last mission that we're on, we go out in the middle of the field. The previous day, we get attacked. We capture the Iraqis, and we turn them back in. The next day, we come back out to link back up with our units, and they're set up in the 360 perimeter. And as they're set up in this 360 perimeter, we're passing out the MREs, the ammunitions, and the water. And we get to the last vehicle, and that last vehicle, it has my gunnery sergeant, my best friend Soto, Hernandez, and we have our doctor on there. I pull up next to them, and I give them their supplies. And I pull off. 5 seconds later, I hear boom! The blast tilted my tank, slammed it down. The shrapnel blasted me across the eye, gashed my shoulder, knocked me out back inside of my tank. Castanelli comes up, Sergeant Nelson, Sergeant Nelson! And he wakes me back up. We get the word from Captain Venning that we could check on everybody. I get out, and I see nothing but dust, cloud, smoke, fire. You can smell all this in the air. My gunnery sergeant is blown away, and he's laid on the ground. Blood is running out of his ears. My doctor, his legs is blown off. Hernandez, the 50 cal, blows half of his face off. And my best friend Soto, his stomach is on the steering wheel. I have to put my best friend inside of a body bag. This rocked me. This put me back inside of a bottle. Shortly after that, this is what took place. These are the guys that we lost on September 13, 2004. I'll tell you this, the things that I bottled in hindered me a good majority of my adult life once I got out of the military. What I didn't tell you was, as I was going around this 360, I drove past that VBID. It was a 500-pound car bomb inside of this car. I went around close to 10 years of my life saying this was my fault. That's what I bottled in for close to 10 years of my life. I couldn't work. I couldn't show up to work as my authentic self. I couldn't work with my employees. I may show up, I may smile, but when I go back home, I was hurting. I was dying on the inside. And when I transitioned out of the military, I lost my identity. I lost my purpose. I lost my passion. And those things hindered me from showing up as my true authentic self, being creative, being fun. All of those things was hindering me. For me, it didn't go well when I transitioned. I got married, got divorced in less than a year, was in a child custody case for 3 years. The same day I got that divorce letter, I got a DUI, went to jail. Probation, community service, license. Shortly after that, I'm trying to get help. If you had PTSD or mental health issues, you was not going to get a job during that particular time. So I bottled those things in, never talked about it. Immediately after that, I try to get help, go to the hospital. I get put on 13 different medications, put on over 150 pounds. I got up to 350 pounds. Shortly after that, I lost my job. And after I lost my job, I'm trying to figure life out and try to figure what I'm going to do next. I got remarried, and after 6 months, me and my wife at the time was going through another divorce again. I asked my supervisor at the time, I said, hey, can I get out of here? I was working in DC at the particular time. Can I get to Florida? They sent me to Florida, and within 2 or 3 months, I'm starting to write out my life, how I want my life to end. And I started writing these letters and started planning. And I take myself to that bridge with my weapon, tie 50 pounds of weight to my legs, and try to take my life that night. But I tell you guys this, it was in that defining moment that I chose to break the bottle, shatter all of my limiting beliefs and things that was holding me back. For me, I'm a man of God, and that's where my faith lies. You know, in that defining moment, it was like, how dare you? How dare you be so selfish? How dare you do something like this? Especially, you have a wife, you have a son, and those guys that lost their lives in Iraq don't get the same opportunities as you do. How dare you? Immediately after that, I said, how am I going to change my life and go towards this path for transformation? I identified everything. I started clarifying what it was. I started verifying what it was. I started building what my life was going to be like. After I started building what my life was going to be like, I started navigating that and see what that comes out to be. I took myself to Rush Medical University. I wanted to learn all about PTSD, mental health, and started working with those doctors there in Chicago. Following that, I went to Atlanta, and I wanted to work with the veterans unit there of how we could work on prolonged exposure for veterans that keep on telling their stories over and over inside their heads, and they keep on buying and selling the same information over and over again. And as I did that, I found that I started to have a little bit of success, and my life was starting to change. From there, we got with Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham. We went to Alaska with him, and me and my wife started working our relationship. And after 10 years of separation, we got married 3 years ago, just by working on our relationship. Why do I share that with you? Because I'm telling you, this is the process that I've applied to my life. When I decided to change my life, when I was 350 pounds, my life was horrible. I said, how am I going to change my life and get back to 200 pounds? How am I going to get back in shape and change my life? And I started applying the same concept and the same principles to change my life. This is why I'm telling you that the blueprint and the framework works for me, and I know that it works for many people too as well. Once I decided to do that, guys, it led me to my destination. And the destination is we got to own our future. For me, it was this: how can I start aligning myself to where I'm trying to go and not take any steps back? How can I start engaging with the people that's going to help me on my path? And then, how am I going to start sustaining that? It's easy to go on this path, but one of the things that we all get caught up in is distractions. And distractions and comparisons could knock us off and take us away. Those were the things that had me back in those circumstances. I had too many distractions in my life where I lost focus. For us, we need to identify what do we need to align with, who do we need to engage with, and how do we sustain that? And it's all in the psychology of it. How can we create that emotion? How can we create that identity? Then, how can we influence people? Is it telling our stories? What is it that we need to do for ourselves to start connect with our ideal clients, and then we could start creating that connection? In this day and age, guys, here's the truth. AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But behind the voices, the chat GPTs, people are looking for real, authentic stories that they could connect with that make sense to them. If it does not make sense, they're going to swipe, they're going to scroll, and they're not going to listen to you. It's important for us to not bypass the human aspect and the connections that we're making with people on a daily basis as we're doing our jobs. So what is your brand? What is your identity? For me, you guys already know that I'm all about resilience, I'm all about leadership, I'm all about supporting my veterans, and I'm a big advocate for kids that anyone that have ever been abused in any system or anything like that. I have a soft spot for that. And that's how I stand out. If you go on any social media content that you'll pull about me or see about me, you'll see those are the 4 things that I talk about: veterans, kids, leadership, resilience. That's all you'll find out on social media about me. As you go to your level of success, guys, do not get complacent. It's easy to get complacent. This was one of the first signs that I saw when I got to Iraq. You're going to have success. You're going to accomplish great things. But as you're doing that, do not get complacent, as complacency will kill you. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself back in this jar. You're going to find yourself back in this bottle. You're going to start buying what you're selling. Here's the thing, it's hard to see the label when you're inside of that jar. Get coaches, get mentors, get accountability partners, have a best friend, have a girlfriend, somebody that's going to keep you accountable and keep on pushing you and going to keep on challenging you. For us here at Social Media Week, I just want to leave you guys with this challenge. What is one thing that you could start that's bold, that you could start posting, that you could start sharing if there's a limiting belief that's holding you back? You guys could go on social media, you could tag me, you could post this, you could actually post this in the Facebook group. But what is one thing that is holding you back? If that's in your business, with your teammates, what is it? Identify what those things are. As I get ready to close here, we got to be difference-led. We got to be disciplined. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. When you're disciplined, you'll say no to a lot of things, and you say yes to the right things that align with you. You choose to go in the right direction. You choose to make the right decisions, which will take you to your destination. And when you do that and apply that, you get to break the bottle. Thank you, guys.